So, if you watched my last short, here's the follow-up to that. So, I believe everything's energy, and I'm not alone. There are many, many famous scientists who believe that everything is energy because everything is energy. And the mitochondria is a very interesting portion of our cellular DNA. I'll expound on that later when I get back to my notes. But all through life, I've had some pretty shaking events. A lot of them were traumatic. So I think when someone experiences trauma to a certain level, we start to look for escape mechanisms. And mine became spirituality. And whether you believe in paranormal experiences or everything that happens has a scientific explanation or whatever, it's just somebody's imagination. Their perception is their reality. And so I've had several, I'll call them psychological and spiritual experiences that cannot be explained with science. And this last one, I've got data to go along with it, and I'll share that with you. Okay, so I had to get back to my notes because, I got a lot going on. But anyway, back to the mitochondria subject. I think it's one of those subjects that kind of sounds boring until you realize that they're actually connected to almost everything. Everything. Like our energy production, fatigue, exercise recovery, aging, brain function, hormones, inflammation, metabolic health, heat and cold tolerance. But the thing that hit me the hardest was when I found out that it's only passed down through the mother. It blew my mind. I realized I'm the last one in that lineage. My mitochondria has been around since the beginning of evolution, since the beginning. And I'm the last one. Now that may not sound really profound to a lot of people, but I've done a lot of inner work this past year. I'd done a lot before, but this past year I've spent many, many hours and many, many days, weeks, and months up on this hill alone with just myself and whatever is out in the cosmos, because we really don't know, honestly. And I realized why I am the way I am. And it shook me to my core. I sat out here on this porch and I cried. And that was on May the 31st. It was the full blue moon. And when they say once in a blue moon, let me tell you what that meant for me. That night I went to bed, I went to sleep. And I woke up at 2:58 a.m. in what scientists would deem sleep paralysis. I felt a cat behind my back take 3 steps on my mattress and rub against my back, right above my hip, all the way down to the bend of my knee. I was wide awake, I thought. My first instinct was to knock it off of me. And then I sat straight up in the bed, and I thought, there's no way a cat could get in here. And it never jumped down off the bed. I didn't hear it. And even if it did, there's no way for it to get out. So I got up and I turned the lights on, and I realized what had happened. Of course, I went to ChatGPT. What just happened? I went to Google AI. What just happened? And they explained to me that sometimes when people have spiritual shifts, psychological shifts, realizations, that it comes out in this way. But this was not the first time that I had experienced episodes like that. I experienced once where a being sat down on my bed. I felt the bed indent. It had really long fingers, and it grabbed my head. Like, it held my head. There was a tingling sensation. The being never left the room. My husband at that time, I woke him up and I was just like, there's something in here, there's something in here. And he went all through the house like there was nothing there. I was doing some pretty deep work at that time. But that work was subconscious. I didn't realize what was going on. It happened again in, I think, probably 2019 or 2020. There were beings in the room with me, and I was awake, or I thought I was awake. So after I'd read all the explanations of sleep paralysis and what could bring it on, what could cause it, what facilitated it, I started looking for evidence, because my reality has never felt that real. I know what I know. I knew what I knew. I felt what I felt, And I've been monitoring my fitness, my sleep pattern, my blood pressure, with the, and I've been doing it for a long time. I used to have a Fitbit. Now I have an Apple Watch, and that's just always been something that was very interesting to me, was my sleep pattern. And it's always been pretty normal. So I'm going to insert that in here so you can see what happened that night. And maybe this is just the way psychologically that I have to deal with it, but I don't believe I was here up until that moment. Up until 2:58 a.m. on June the 1st, I don't believe I was in my body. And I'm going to tell you what I think was happening. So I want to tell you something about those tears that I cried sitting out here on this porch. They weren't tears of grief. I wasn't sad that the lineage was ending, because for the divine feminine in my lineage, there's been a lot of pain. A lot of pain for every one of us. I believe I'm the end of that. I think it's why I find it so easy to walk between shadow and light, like I tell you. I'm not afraid of the darkness. I've walked through the darkness several times. So have my ancestors. This is the end of that. I rejoiced in that ending, and I decided to use my mitochondria to the fullest. From now until the day I leave this earth and go back to where I came from. And that was the work of a lifetime. 66 years old. And I tell my grandkids I'm going to live to be 120. I can see that. And this is where it sounds really crazy. But I think that I was with my ancestors. I think we were having a cosmic party of souls. I think they were rejoicing that I had just discovered my purpose. And I think when I came back, when I dropped back into my body, the cat came with me for just a minute. And I imagined in my mind that they were saying, she'll be fine, she'll never remember this, she'll never remember any of it. And the cat's looking around thinking, but she'll know. She'll know. I know that's kind of fantasia. I know it's off the wall, but hey, works for me. I'm doing a lot of things right now. I am learning about recovery, both physically and spiritually. I'm becoming more focused on my health and my fitness. I'm trying to build an off-grid homestead. I'm making travel plans. And if you're curious about how that looks, stick around. And until next time, like I always say, walk gently between shadow and light and honor your own becoming.